Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be drawing a couple of poses, and I'd like to say that this little guy helps me with the process, but other than reminding me to break things up into blocks and shapes, he's really more for decoration or playing with and the occasional argument. Dude, what the heck? Anyway, now that I've got that out of my system, I'm gonna start getting to the good part. I was originally gonna do another face, but when I was looking at reference photos, I found myself really distracted by shoes and cute outfits, so I figured, hey, I haven't done clothes or poses in a while, like a really long time actually, so why not? I used to draw poses all the time, especially when I was younger. I remember looking at Time magazine when I was a kid and just loving the pictures of the Olympic gymnasts. The way they'd be posed up on like the balance beam, bouncing on one foot, you know what I'm talking about. I wanted to draw those pictures so bad, so I just kept drawing and practicing and drawing and practicing. That's what you gotta do. I know I say it all the time, but when I'm drawing figures, I do the same thing as I would for any subjects. Animals, faces, bodies, it doesn't matter. It takes practice, but you have to train yourself to see the lines and the shapes of everything. You break it down into the simplest shapes that you can. If things aren't sitting right, don't be afraid to have a bunch of messy lines. If you keep erasing what you did wrong, it's harder to see where you actually want your lines to be. You can always refine and tighten things later. Once I have a rough outline, I lightly erase with a kneaded eraser. I want to be able to tell the difference between my new lines and my old lines, but I still want to be able to see where my outline was. Now is the part where I can start putting in more details. It looks a little weird with her arm up on the wall like that. Like if you hadn't seen the reference, it would look like she was just leaning on nothing. But we all know the wall is there, and for the sake of just keeping things simple, we'll pretend that my curvy little line means that there's a wall there. She's leaning on it. It's hard for me to find a good reference photo these days. You have to filter through like a bazillion selfie pictures, and who wants to draw a phone? With this sketch, I'm keeping things simple, but you can do anything you prefer with yours. You could do the stripes on the shirt, add all of your shading and detail, or even add color. It only took me about half an hour to get this first image done, but you can spend as much time as you'd like. I'm only going through the basics here. I have mostly achieved what I want to do in this sketch. Even her face isn't really that important to me right now. Just those sunglasses were giving me a little bit of a hassle, but in general, I like it. So I decided, hey, this looks good enough to me. You know what would be great? I should mess it up with some pen. I could tell I was using the wrong pen right away, but I was committed in my laziness and I didn't feel like getting up to scrounge for the one that worked the way I wanted it to. It was juicy in all the wrong places and I couldn't control it that well. I was also trying to keep my sketchbook straight for the sake of the video so y'all don't get like whiplash from me spinning it around so much. But if you want your lines to be less shaky and have less mistakes, you really do want to move that paper so that whatever line you're putting down is comfortable for you. In the second picture, I had to. My hands were just way too shaky. Well, they're shaky like all the time. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. Add in the extra strain of awkward angles and you can just tell with these lines. It doesn't really feel natural. Anyway, just basic inking here. I'm not doing anything too special. You could probably go over to Waffles and you will find some amazing inking. That's not in this one. Anyway, when I was done, I got up and grabbed a handful of pens to play with and got a feel for which of them felt best. It really is a feeling. Like, how does the ink glide? How do you get continuous lines? I like to do a little bit of shading and hatching, and I like my pen to have like a bold feel and a light feel. You want a pen that handles curves well, and I can tell you that the pen usually feels best as a regular old Bic pen. I found it in the kitchen, seriously. It's your cheap stuff. I've got some fancy pens, but my favorite is always the simplest. This next drawing is my favorite. I found this picture of her standing there with an adorable, like, capey poncho-y thing, like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, and I didn't realize until I started drawing that she's, like, kind of, like, looking down at her shoe, like, did I step in something? I also added the umbrella that wasn't in the picture, just for reference, because I always think I know what something looks like until it's time to draw it. If you notice, I'm pretty much drawing this one the exact same way. It's just lines and shapes and blocking things out. You have to simplify everything. But I can tell you that this one just felt easier. Like the first one was actually like a warm-up. Like any muscles, you have to loosen and warm it up. After the first drawing, you also know what you've done wrong and what to avoid on the next one. Even though she has that cape on, I still want to draw what her figure looks like or what I think it looks like underneath. There are drapes and shadows and creases that are only there because of a shape underneath. Plus, it just helps me get a better feel for where things are supposed to sit. The more you practice, the more you are going to be able to draw bodies and figures at all angles. The umbrella was a little bit of a struggle for me too. I'm not really used to drawing umbrellas or like, I don't know, accessories. Anyway, I had to move my paper to do her face. It's facing downwards, and after a few times, I realized it was wonky because I was being wonky. Just by not moving my paper to a more comfortable angle, I was overcomplicating it. I didn't erase as much on this drawing as I did on the last drawing because after doing it the first time, I realized that the graphite really didn't affect how the pen laid down. It's not like with my colored pencils or watercolor where you really don't want a bunch of graphite hanging out on the paper. It just gets messy after a while. As much as I do love the way this one turned out, and I think it's just a personal preference, but I love the sketchy look on this one so much better. It's just my favorite look and the funnest way for me to draw. This pen did help me keep some sketchy look, and it laid down really lightly when I needed to. I was able to put at least a little bit of shading in. I tried to ink this like I would with a pencil. It's a little rough, but it is so much closer to what I was going for than the first drawing. I kind of wish I had done this on a watercolor paper. I feel like it really would have looked so much prettier with some splashes of color. Maybe I'll have to experiment with some markers or something. I would have used my colored pencils, but I'm lazy and that takes too much time for a simple sketch. The last tip I have is to make sure that your pen is completely dry before you erase. A cool drawing can be ruined in an instant if the ink smears, and I can honestly say that happened to me because I hate waiting for things to dry and I have no patience. I can definitely tell the difference between the drawings. The second one just feels best to me. I keep saying that like 10,000 times, but it's true. I love the vibe that I'm getting from it. If you lasted this long, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you next time.